Welcome to World Buzz Bulletin. As the geopolitical landscape shifts toward a reality that many analysts describe as a pre-World War II order, the world's middle powers nations like Australia, Canada, South Korea, and Brazil are facing a grave and unprecedented challenge. For decades, these countries have thrived within a predictable rules-based system anchored by the United States and international institutions. However, as the America First doctrine deepens in Washington and the European Union struggles with internal fragmentation, the safety net of multilateralism is rapidly fraying. Middle powers now find themselves caught in the crossfire of a world without rules, where raw national interest and bilateral muscle have replaced the diplomatic norms of the post-1945 era. The dilemma for these nations is both strategic and existential, no longer able to rely on the absolute guarantee of the U.S. security umbrella or the steady hand of global trade bodies. Middle powers are being forced into a high-stakes game of strategic hedging. This shift is characterized by a frantic search for new, smaller alliances and a significant increase in sovereign defense spending. The concern, as voiced by global commentators and leaders alike, is that without the stabilizing force of a unified Western front, these nations will be pressured to choose sides in a volatile competition between great powers, or risk being sidelined entirely as the global map is redrawn. The defining pressures on middle powers in this new era include the death of multilateralism. Organizations like the WTO and the UN are increasingly viewed as paralyzed, leaving middle powers without a neutral forum to resolve disputes or protect their economic interests against larger predatory economies. The security arms race from the Indo-Pacific to Northern Europe. Middle powers are significantly boosting their military capabilities. Nations that once focused on soft power are now investing in long-range missiles and nuclear-capable submarines to deter aggression in a landscape where Article 5-style guarantees are being questioned. Economic vulnerability. In a world of tit-for-tat tariffs and transactional diplomacy exemplified by recent U.S. trade tensions with India, middle powers are finding their exporter-driven economies at the mercy of sudden, unilateral policy shifts from major powers. The middle path crisis. The space for neutrality is shrinking. Countries that have traditionally balanced relations between the East and West are finding it increasingly difficult to maintain that equilibrium as Washington and its rivals demand explicit loyalty tests. This return to the 1930s style of diplomacy has left the international community at a crossroads. While the great powers battle for dominance, the middle powers are attempting to build their own strategic autonomy, seeking to create regional pockets of stability. However, history suggests that when the global order breaks down into a series of competing blocs, it is the smaller and middle-sized nations that often pay the highest price. As the old rules continue to vanish, the resilience of these middle powers will determine whether the world manages a soft landing or descends into the kind of chaotic competition that defined the darkest chapters of the 20th century. Thank you for watching World Buzz Bulletin.